Hi guys, welcome back to the big sew along. This is Wednesday, January 20th, and we are, as of today, midway through our Opal Annie sew along. Before we get started with today's sew along, which is the Sachi Pants, again, I'm having troubles with my seat. I don't know, I have to change something. Let me cover a couple of things. First of all, Donna, the lovely designer behind Opal Annie, has offered us a coupon code. It's Ginny's Friends. I'll put it up here, and I will also put it down below with a link to her shop. If you use that coupon code at checkout, you will get 50% off, a whopping 50% off of your pattern purchases over there at Opal Annie on Etsy. Really nice of her, and I really appreciate that. Also, next month, we are going to be sewing patterns from another Etsy designer. Her name is BMannByBridget, and I will link her shop below as well. She has several patterns, and I'm having a little bit trouble deciding which 3 patterns we would like to sew for February. So if you guys wouldn't mind, maybe you could pop over to her shop, take a look, see what things you would like to see a sew along for, and then come back over here and leave me a note down below. Really appreciate the input. Thank you so much in advance. Okay. Enough about that. Now to our Sachi Pants. Let me just start by saying I love these pants. I have 2 of them. I'll show you pictures later. One is a really a wearable muslin that's just scrap fabric, and the other one is fabric from Diamond Textiles. Like I said last week, I get my Diamond Textiles from Rusty Crow, and I will link those guys below too. Okay, so the Sachi Pant has a top portion, like a yoke portion, a bottom main body piece, then a crotch curve piece, and then a separate crotch panel underneath. So you'll have like a top panel front and back, a main body panel front and back, a crotch curve front and back, and then one panel that goes in the middle. You'll see in the video when we start making it. But because of that, you have tons of options. She does give you pattern pieces and directions for cargo pockets. I did not put those on my muslin pattern because, again, I just didn't have fabric. I did use them on the one that we're going to sew here today. You have options for a slimmer fit or a fuller fit. You also have options for a plain banded hem, which is essentially the same hem the same kind of hem we did on this. This is another dandelion that I just made, and it's really cute. Solid linen. You'll see pictures of this later too. Anyways, okay, so banded hem, or a ruffled hem, and you also have the option to use a drawstring or even elastic or something in either of those hem finishes. The Sachi Pant is a little bit more labor intensive than, say, the dandelion, but only because it has more pieces. It's not hard, and it's not a super long sew. It is really fun because you have a lot of places to play with things. I did think that the seam between the yoke and the main body, the bottom portion of the pant, would be a really cool place to add like an inseam pocket or something, so I might try that on another pair. The cargo pockets, it also has patch pockets for like the hip and the back. I don't know if I said that before. The pockets are all meant to be raw edges except for the top. So just know that going in, that if you don't want raw edges, you're going to want to figure out a way to finish those edges before you get too far. You may even want to add seam allowances or whatever if you're going to finish those edges. I don't finish those in the video today. Yeah, so this is a really fun pair of pants to make. I also really like wearing them. I think they're really cute and they're really comfortable. I love these pants, and I have 2 now that are mixed patterns, and I'm gonna make another pair in a solid. I think I have a solid gray linen that I'm gonna use for my next pair. I don't know when I have time for that, but whenever I do, that's what I'm doing. Okay, so let's go over to the video here, and you guys can take a look how they're made, and then we'll come back and go over, I'll show you the 2 that I made. Okay, so let's go through all the pieces that we need here. We have 2 upper sections. They're both exactly the same, and they're both cut on the fold. We have 2 lower sections. Same thing. They're both cut on the fold. Just be aware that on this, the fold is right here. It's not on this side, it's on the inside. So you have 2 of those. You have 2 crotch curve pieces, also cut on the fold. Those look like this, and that's the fold on that edge. So we have 2 of those. And I've cut all of mine to the capri length, so I just folded that up. You'll see that mine looks shorter here. Okay. The next thing we have, and there are not pattern pieces for the rest of these. Well, some of them there are. We have a crotch strip. 1 lower crotch strip. And it looks like this when it's cut, and it will say in your instructions based on which version you're making, how long to make this. But it's either going to be 4 inches wide or 6 inches wide by the length that your pattern states. Then you need 2 cargo pockets. For the straight cut pockets, you need one that is 8 inches by 18 inches and one that is 8 inches by 13 inches. That's these 2 for me. Now, if you are not making the straight cut pockets, if you're making the billowy pockets, there are pattern pieces for those. Then you need 1 front hip pocket, which is 5.5 inches by 10 inches. I don't think that's right. I made mine 5.5 by 5.5, so I will have to recut that. You have a back pattern piece, which is, I think this one is 7 inches. Yeah, 7 by 10 on this one. And then you have, if you're cutting ruffles, then you need 2 of them, and they're 6 inches wide by the width of the fabric. And then you have instructions for your leg bands based on whether or not you're cutting the straight cut or the full cut and what size you're making. But there'll be 2 pieces that look like this. And those are all our pieces. Okay, so the first thing we're going to tackle here on our Sachi pants is the pockets. And we're going to do them all exactly the same. And we have 4 pockets. 2 cargo pockets, 1 front hip pocket, 1 back patch pocket. The first thing we're going to do is just fold under the top edge 1/4 of an inch and press it just like that. Then we're going to fold that over 3/4 of an inch. So there's your 1/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch. Then we're going to press that down so it'll look like that. And then we're going to put 2 rows of gathering stitches. Now you can actually use more gathering stitches if you want, but this is what they look like. So gathering stitches from top to bottom. I found it easiest when I went to sew my pockets on to not have it go all the way to the bottom. So I stopped my gathering stitches about 1/2 or 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. Now all you're going to do here is gather up the bottom portion, sort of like this. The only thing is, you have to be careful because each pocket, according to your directions, has a different gathered measurement. So it will say gather to 6.5 inches or something like that, okay? So you're just going to gather it just like that, make them relatively even, and then just give those a quick little press on the sides there so that they'll be easier to sew. Now these pockets have raw edges everywhere except for the top. Knowing that, if you prefer to not have raw edges, that is easy enough to do, to like fold those edges under or to bind them or whatever you want to do. But just be aware that because these are meant to be raw edged pockets, you're not going to have a seam allowance here really, so you may need to add one. Okay. We're just going to put our pockets aside for now, and we're going to move on. This is the upper section, and as I said before, we should have 2 of these. we're going to place these right sides together. Just like that. And sew both sides together with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. 3/8 of an inch on this side, 3/8 of an inch on this side. We're going to finish those seams and then press them both in the same direction. And these pants are exactly the same on the front and the back, so just pick one to be the back and press them that direction. Then we're going to take this piece, which is our lower section, and we're going to do the same thing. Okay, so I have these two placed together. You can see those are right sides together. And I've pinned all the way down this side. Now I'm just going to pin this side. Then we're going to sew both sides at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. We're going to finish those seams, and we're going to press them the same direction that we pressed the seams in our upper section. Okay, so now we have two separate pieces. This is our lower piece sewn together like that. And this is our upper piece. Just like a big band. We're going to put that aside for a minute. And now, if you look at your pattern, you'll see a couple places for your pockets. I've gone ahead and marked them. I know you probably can't see these because these are really, this chalk is a little light, but we're going to go ahead and put our pockets on here now. This is my left side, and this is my center seam. So this pocket is going to be this one. I'm going to start it here, and I'm just going to center it over this seam. So I'm just going to sort of fold it like that and get an idea where the middle is. Now this is also a good time to, or the time I should say, to place any patches or other, you know, bells and whistles you want to put on your pants. Do that now. Oh, it's easier. I might put a little lace trim in there actually. Alright, and then we're just going to sew around the edges. I'm going to sew mine down with a straight stitch, and then I'm going to go over it with a zigzag stitch just for decorative purposes. And then I just pinned my two legs together. Don't do that. That's one cargo pocket. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other leg with the other cargo pocket, exactly the same. Now for the patch pocket, or sorry, for the hip pocket, we are not going to place them over the side seam. We're going to place them on the front, just like this. And you can move them around if you want it closer to the center or closer to the side. You can put it anywhere you like. Just be sure that you don't do what I just did and pin them to both pant legs at the same time. So, just like that. Alright, now just do the exact same thing with the two pockets on the other side. Stitch all 4 of your pockets down and any other patches or trims you want to put on. And then we'll move on to the waistband. And there are my pockets. My cargo pocket on one side, my front hip pocket, my back hip pocket. Now, we're going to attach the upper section. This is the right side of my pants, and I'm going to turn this inside out, and I'm just going to put it around the top of my pants. I'm going to match my, side seams. And then I'm going to match my center front and center back. And then I am just going to put a few more pins in there to hold it straight. And then we're just going to sew this all the way around with a 3/8 inch seam allowance again. And then you're going to finish that seam and press it down into the pants. Okay, there's our top section attached to our bottom section. And now we're going to put in our crotch curves, which are right here. And I found the easiest way to do this for me was to turn these upside down. You can see I've marked the center of my crotch curve on my pants, and I've done the same on my crotch curve piece. And I'm just going to Match those 2 pins up. Make sure you don't pin your front and your back. You just want one side. Match it up like that. And then we're just going to sort of keep moving these 2 pieces around and trying to match this curve up. And it's going to be easier to move this leg down this way than it is to move this up that way. So I'm really going to keep this crotch piece pretty much like this and just keep moving my leg piece around like that. The only thing is both of these are cut on a curve, so there's a lot of bias there. You're going to want to be careful to not stretch either of the 2 pieces. Alright, now you're going to go ahead and sew this with your 3/8 inch seam allowance and finish that seam any way you like. And then you're going to do the same thing to the other side. And when you're done sewing these, you're going to want to press your seam allowance towards the pants, not towards the crotch. Because if you press it this way towards the pant, up like this, you're going to get that seam to lay a lot flatter. Okay, so this is what we look like so far. See, that looks pretty smooth right there. Now, we're going to put our center band, our crotch band in here. So I'm going to turn these inside out. So now we have these inside out. And I'm going to take my crotch strip and I'm going to pin it to one side, right sides together. And we're going to go all the way around the curve. And just be careful when you're sewing this so that you keep this curve part pretty straight, because otherwise you're going to get bunching up under here. So just go slowly and sort of straighten it out as you go. Alright, now we're just going to flip it over. And we're going to pin the other side of the band to the other side of our crotch seam, our crotch curve, I guess it is. Alright, once we have these both sides of these pinned in, we're just going to go to the sewing machine and sew both of those seams again with our 3/8 inch seam allowance, and then we're going to press those seams open. You can see where that panel is pinned between the front and the back, all the way through the crotch. Alright, so go ahead and stitch that together, finish your seams, press them, and come back. So here we have our pants so far. Next thing we're going to do is put our bottom bands on. Now I'm not putting ruffles or anything on mine, but there are instructions in there for ruffles, and also I think there might be something else. So we're going to take our bands and we're just going to sew them into a tube like this, and then we're going to press them in half this way. So you have your seam inside. Now I'm going to put a drawstring in mine, so directly opposite of my seam I put a buttonhole, just one buttonhole to put my drawstring through. You can put a drawstring in or you don't have to. It's totally up to you. But if you are, you want this to be on the outside of your leg, not the inseam. Okay, so then with raw edges together, I am going to try to line this seam up roughly with the center of my, whoops, I was doing the wrong one. We're going to line the center of our cuff up with the center of our straight inseam panel, which, if I can find it, is here. So that's your curved panel, and your curved panel, that's your straight panel. So it's going to go right about here. And then we're just going to go to the sewing machine and sew that all the way down with our 3/8 inch seam allowance. Flip it up like this And I'm going to top stitch this one. I haven't been doing top stitching because I don't really have the right color of thread, but for my bottom band, I'm going to do the top stitching. Okay guys, there we go. That's our Sachi Pants. The only thing I have left to do is thread my drawstrings through my buttonholes. If you're not using drawstrings, then you don't need to do that. We do have to put an elastic in or a drawstring waistband in. I'm not going to show you that in this tutorial just because I've done that before, but I'm going to show you, but I will link down below a link to the video where I show you the waistband that I like to do. Okay, so that's it. Those are our Sachi Pants. The first pair I'm going to show you here. These are my wearable muslin. This is the slim fit and it is the full length, but beware, I did not have enough fabric to do the band, so I just have a bias binding on there. If I had used the band, I think it would have been 1.5 inches or 2 inches longer than that. But I am only 5'3", so double check the length, because if you're taller, you may need to add a little bit of length to that. So yeah, slim fit, full length, no cargo pockets or anything like that, and I used an elastic waist in mine. The second pair, which is the pair we've made today, and I'll put that picture up here, and you can see them here with my brand new dandelion, the one I'm wearing today. The dandelion, by the way, is in a heavyweight linen, and it has not, the fabric was washed, but I haven't washed it since it's been made into a shirt, so it looks a little stiff, but aside from that, I'm kind of in love with it. These pants are the cropped length, also in the slim fit. I did use the band on the bottom with a drawstring on these, and I also used one cargo pocket. I actually had 2 cut out and I messed one up, so I only have one. Yeah, so again, really fun to make. I highly encourage you giving these a go, especially if you have fabrics that you like together, because there's a million options for mixing things up here. Kind of fun. I'm really low on bits and bobs. I usually have tons of ribbons and trims and laces. Since I haven't been in a thrift store or to a house sale in a full year at this point, which is highly unusual for me, I'm getting really low on those things. So I would have loved to add some more things, like some patches and ribbons and stuff to these. I just don't have any right now. So anyway, if you have those in your stash or if you've got access to them, this is a great pattern for using those things. Okay, so that is it for this week. Remember, next week we'll be working on Opal Annie's Dottie tunic or dress. Don't forget you have a coupon code for Opal Annie patterns. It's Ginny's Friends. It's listed below along with a link to her shop. Also, don't forget to hashtag your photos if you post them on social media. This month our hashtag is TBSA Opal Annie. Thank you guys so much. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.